So, hello everyone, good evening to one and all. I'm Syed Ahmed, and on behalf of AG's School of Business, Data Science, and Cybersecurity, I welcome all of you to the CEO Talk. Today, we have a very inspiring CEO with us, Mr. Gaurav Tripathi. Before we start with the session, I would like to give brief introduction about sir. So, sir studied in IIT at IIT Bombay and sir got 16 plus years of experience across multiple startups, working in web, video, IoT, cloud, big data, blockchain, and AI. So, all the technologies that we have learned, the most emerging technologies, he worked with almost all the technologies. Sir, of course, is an entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of Superpro.ai. So, he got his own startup and his company is working to realize the vision of digital Atmanirbhar Bharat by offering end-to-end video communication platform called Vayam. Sir also co-founded Innoplexus, now known as the German AI champion in life sciences, that started working with top 50 pharma companies globally. There, Sir worked as CTO. He led the team to build an IP portfolio of 120 plus patents in areas around AI, and out of which 35 have him as an inventor. So, Sir loves trekking, traveling, reading, and mentoring aspiring entrepreneurs and emerging startups. So, that was very short introduction about you, sir. And just by seeing your introduction and the topic that we have today, we are keen to listen the your success story, basically. And now, without taking much time, I request Gaurav sir to start the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Amarji, for inviting me. Thank you, Aegis School, for this invitation. And thank you, all of you who have taken time out on the Saturday evening to join this session. I hope it's worth. I'll try. How I would want this to be is I'll first go through the deck. I have a usual deck. I'll finish the deck, but post that, I really want it to be more interactive, and I love to take questions. Yeah. And meanwhile, if you already have questions, you please feel free to put it in the chat box. As soon as I'm done with the presentation, I'll start taking the questions one by one. So thank you. I'll just share my screen and get started. Let me know once you can see my screen.
Well, not yet.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah, it's visible now, sir.
Okay, super. So what I'm going to cover in this presentation is just a part of the journey, like what we did at Innoplexus, and how we were able to do all of the data at Innoplexus. And I'll cover just some very fundamental points. So I'll straight away make a disclaimer. These slides, you're probably not going to see a lot of the very buzzy terms, the latest buzz around a lot of things around AI that you see. But I'm going to talk more about very fundamental stuff. Yeah. So in case you get disappointed on not seeing the latest buzz terms, I apologize for it already. Great. So where do we start? Yes. So AI, I'm sure all of you already know these companies pretty well. These are the top 10 companies of the world, yeah, by market capitalization, right? And of course, that's in a lot of them are in top 6 are in the $1 trillion range. And if we see just the top, the Apple itself, and this is a slightly older screenshot. In fact, if you see Apple and all these companies, yes, their market cap itself is almost close to Indian economy. So these are huge, and the reason why they have shot up in value, and why all of they been able to scale so well and become so large, a lot of it they owe to AI. Yeah, and that's what we see. So in this, except for Saudi Aramco, although Saudi Aramco also uses AI, but rest all and Berkshire to an extent, rest all 8 companies, you can see that yes, there is a major impact of AI that has been there. Yeah, so definitely we are looking at something which has never happened before in human history. Not just the largest companies, but if you look at the largest startups as well, right? So this was the list of the biggest unicorns in 2021. I've just taken a snap, and lucky for me, what I wanted to stress upon was right there, at the top left corner itself. So this was the block for AI companies, and there we see world's largest startup really is ByteDance. And who's ByteDance? ByteDance is the company which is behind TikTok. I'm sure you would have heard about TikTok, right? So that's the company which really claims to be the world's largest startup right now at $140 billion valuation, right? And it calls itself an AI company, not a video company, not a content company. It calls itself AI company. So that's how important it is. How we look at AI? I'll jump to it. So before AI, what comes? So yes, data. Yeah, and this I personally love this code, because as whatever I have seen, whatever we've seen in AI, it's really the core, the biggest element behind it, all of it. It's really data. No data, no AI. Yeah, and it's really, I mean it like in terms of no data, no AI, as well as KNOW, no. Yeah, no data, no AI. Yeah, that's how important data is for AI. And I can't stress more, I can't stress enough on the importance of data for AI. Yeah. But whatever I'll speak about it, that is keeping this at the center of it, keeping data at the center. Now, when we started with Innoplexus, we realized, in that was somewhere in 2013 and 14, we started realizing that that the data is not simply data. When you look at data, and all data is not created equal, all data is not alike. Yeah, data is very different. So data is deep, it's dense, it's diverse. Now, what do I mean by deep? Yeah, deep is that it is any data that you look at it, any one sentence, yeah, could mean that it's not simply I can put that word and you will be able to understand what it is, right? And to here, I'll quote an example. Like I could give you the name of a disease. For example, if those of you who have watched a very old movie called Anand, yeah, in Anand there is a scene where Amitabh Bachchan explains to Rajesh Khanna that he has lymphosarcoma of the small intestine. So now that word itself sounds alien, right? Lymphosarcoma. Yeah. So if as a lay person, yeah, and to as well as not just human, but to any machine as well, you to any model asset you give, like, okay, what is lymphosarcoma? Yeah. You cannot understand that because it's a deep concept, and the word deep here, it's really in the same context as what you now know as deep learning. Why deep learning is called deep learning? It's simply because there are it's about when we say deep learning, it is really about learning about the real world. Yeah, real world representation. And the real world representation about anything, any subset of it, it's always a hierarchy of concepts, different concepts, right? So here, if we look at it in a hierarchy, so if I say lymphosarcoma, you have to first understand what is a lymph, what is a sarcoma, and for that you have to dig deeper. Yeah, then it's like, okay, you have to understand, okay, human body. Yeah, human body has organs, human body has tissues, then cells, and that's where something is called a lymph. and then there's something called the sarcoma, which happens what it is. So that's where it's one word itself doesn't represent. It's the information is deep down. You have to drill deep into the hierarchy of concepts. Yeah, and that's what it's called deep. Dense, again, it's that one word, it packs together a lot of information. Yeah, so if I have to explain you lymphosarcoma, yeah, it will take me probably, so like probably take me 10 minutes to explain what it is, right? And that shows, or maybe 2 pages of text, yeah, before you understand what is lymphosarcoma. And that is what the information density is very high. Yeah, in information, if we look at it, data, right, there will be terms on which you could not simply take the term and people will understand. You will need to elaborate around it. So the information is densely packed together. And diverse, finally, you could relate to it that, yeah, it comes in different colors, so it could be different file formats, but that's not it. Even across just even if the same file format, even in the same structure, the data could come in different formats. So it could be like, even if you talk about images, right, you could have an image like this, right? This deep, dense, and diverse have written 3 words, okay, just 3 words, right, with 3 images that I have shown. I can show this in a very different representation as well. I have chosen the image in vertical, right? 3 vertical images. I could as well flip it, and I could maybe show it as horizontal. Yeah, I could place 3 horizontal images, yeah, and place 3 words, or I could place just 1 image and I could place 3 words, right? So that's diversity. It's essentially, if you look at from a human perspective, even if I change the representation of it to a human, the essence is the same. Okay, I'm talking about 3 words, fine. Wherever I write 3 words, whatever combination of image and letters, as a human, you will still understand it. But for a machine, each representation is altogether a different thing. Yeah, a machine cannot figure out it on its own, correct? So that's what diversity is about. Now, this is what we realized in Innoplexus around 2013-14, that its data is not simply data. Yeah, it's very different that we're dealing with. And when we said, okay, the opportunity which we are looking at, if we have to understand life sciences, yeah, if you have to understand that, what do we need to do? So we figured that, okay, first we need to understand what data are we talking about. We need to first get all of that data, right? And that's what prompted us to start crawling. Yeah, so that, I mean, I've just showed a spider crawling, but what I mean is web crawling. So we did, okay, how do we get all of the data, data that is available on publicly? So he said, okay, if it's publicly available, we can sure crawl it, we can get that all of the data on our servers, so we can analyze it, and we'll figure out what it means, what's the total landscape of life sciences look like. And that's where the snapshot on the right, what you see is definitely, it's a snapshot from the movie 300. The context being that in one of the reports in 2017, it was mentioned that internet in total had 300 million plus domains, right? So that's what we said, okay, how big it is, let's start looking at it, let's start crawling. And a domain, I'm sure so domain is like google.com is a domain. Yeah, Superpro.ai is a domain. So with such, we figured, okay, there are 300 million plus domains. Let's hit each and figure out which of these domains are related to the information, that data that we are looking at in life sciences. Yeah. Now, this definitely was madness, because if you would have asked anybody, in the team, or even externals, right? If you would have asked anybody outside of the company, people would have said we are mad. And people did say, when I spoke to people, when I told people that, yeah, we are planning to crawl the entire web, people said you are mad, because this is, as a small startup, bootstrap startup, fund, at that point of a time, we were not yet funded. You don't plan on such a big initiative. You say that, okay, you'll need to look at smaller things first, and then so on. But we had this goal very clearly in mind, that yes, we are going to go for this, right? And that's what, like, ultimately we started crawling at scale, and we got all of the data. Now, data, how does the data look like? Yeah, so data in the data world, the data is always in two large buckets. One is structured and unstructured. So structured data, as you see, I have mentioned as tamed. Yeah, tamed because in human history, yes, I'll say almost it's been more than 50 years, 60 years that we have been working with structured data. Structured data, so I've shown it with a cute puppy, because structured data is really easy to handle, easy to tame. A lot of tools, databases, a querying tool, SQL, so everything exists, by which you can work with the structured data. But when we talk about unstructured data, especially this, it is very difficult to figure out what this unstructured data is. Yeah, where is the head? Where is the tail? Where are the arms? Where are the legs? You can't figure it out. What is this unstructured data really is? It's wild, and that is how the data that is started crawling, that was on the internet. And then we realized that it's completely unstructured, and that's where the real value is. One, if we are able to generate insights from this unstructured data, then definitely there will be a huge value that we'll be building upon. So that's what we started. And over a period of time, this is what we got into. So this is a snapshot, actually just from 2018, actually. Yeah, or maybe 19. Yeah, but this is what we had got to that scale. This 100 of terabyte has actually moved to petabytes. We have data in petabytes now. A lot of these numbers more or less have changed slightly, but a lot of the few of these numbers have changed drastically, right? And as you can see, it's everything. It's practically everything that's there, whether it's forums, blogs, websites, data from FDA, data around people, clinical trials, news, press releases, drugs, all kinds of PDFs, patents, whatever. Everything came into it, right? And that's how the data looked like. And as you can see, I've just drawn that few of the circles are intersecting, few of the circles are not intersecting. Well, that is how it is. The data, it was either in silo, there was some overlaps and so on, right? But it was huge, that we got. Once we got that, the task, that the biggest task was that how do you figure out, because once we are getting that, let's say in this case, some unstructured piece of text, right? That unstructured piece of text, how do you figure out whether it's a text from a forum, or from a publication, or from a PhD thesis, or is it part of a news article, or it is the text from a clinical trial, right? Or it's a profile of a person. And so that's where we think whatever is coming to us, we'll need to classify it. And classification, I'm sure you would know by now that there are many different models and many different techniques for classification which existed for quite long. They have been there. But whatever we wanted to do, it was very, we tried a lot of different models, approaches, but we figured that given the scale at which we are looking at, we were trying to classify data across hundreds of terabytes, and the data which was coming in, in hundreds of gigabytes, like every day practically, right? And just to mention here, like we had demonstrated, so Google Cloud had done a case study on us back that time, when we demonstrated that we were able to crawl 1 billion pages per day. And recently, so in 2000, in 2020, we demonstrated again that we were able to crawl 10 billion pages per day. So with that scale, if we want to run classification, we need super fast systems. Yeah, systems which are drastically low response rates and amazingly fast at computing. We had to simply make these things ourselves. We had to build things grounds up from our side, and that is what. And in this, like we looked at how different classification systems work and so on. Now, the problems that you solve, right? Here, if we look at the first problem, I just say, what you see is what you get. Very very simple. But when it comes to machines, not really. It may seem very mind-boggling that, okay, how difficult is it for a machine that on the left hand side, if you see, these are the text. So this is a text from publication abstracts. Yeah, as a human, if I ask you, are you able to figure it out? Okay, so in this, where is the list of authors? You can tell me straight away. Yeah, the top line here is the list of authors in capital separated by comma. You have the title of the publication. Yeah, it's mentioned here in the bold. There is a line. You have different keywords. Is there a background available? Is there an abstract available? Is there a result available? As a human, you instantly, it won't take you even a second to point out that, oh, this is where it is. Now imagine how a machine will do it, and that is the problem which we needed to solve, right? And this was like, so this is like, this was the input and this was the final output. The final output, I mean, it looks very simple, right? What we wanted to do in the end was very simple. What we wanted was that, okay, the abstract text should come neatly in a different column. Yeah, the location should come in a different column. The number of authors should come in a different column. Name of authors, affiliation, everything just should come in a different column. So this unstructured data becomes structured. That is what we wanted. But yes, for this we needed to invent really a different piece, because here we realize that we can't solve this problem unless we are able to emulate human vision, right? And human vision, when we say, it's not simply computer vision, yeah, because computer vision solves only a part of the problem. There is a different part of the problem, because as humans, when we look at things, yeah, we are not looking at purely from a visual perspective. There is already a language perspective, language thing going on in our mind. We are able to read and we are able to relate with it, right? So that's where we realize that we need to combine computer vision and natural language processing to solve this problem. The end result really was that we were able to come very close to emulating human vision, that you give any random PDF file, yeah, to our system, or a presentation to the system. For example, even this slide, right? In this slide, our system will be able to tell you that this on the top, emulating human vision pixel by pixel, is the headline, yeah. And below it there are two images, different images. There is a title for this one image and not, and so on. So all of this we were able to build, and we were able to get to that problem. Now the second problem which we looked at is in the free text unstructured text that was there. Yeah, every text, it will have what we call as an entity, right? Entity, again, if you go with the definition, it's named entity, essentially just a name. It could be just a name, right? What we call in grammar, English grammar, noun, right? Largely these are nouns. Largely it's just a name of something, like name of a person, place, entity, location, and so on. But when it comes to life sciences, we realize that yes, it's a, so for example, here it says squamous cell carcinoma of the head and neck, and then SCCHN. So we have to figure out that yes, this whole thing, squamous cell carcinoma of the head and neck, this is one term. Okay, this is a single term, and this is a disease. And SCCHN is the abbreviation of the same disease. It's not something different. Yeah. So this is what we needed to figure out, or in this case, how do you figure out that this is a picture of a person who is a physician, whose specialty is this, whose phone number is this, whose name is this, and whose the specialty area is this. So how do you relate all of it, right? Different entities. So first, detecting entities, and second, being able to put together these entities in a logical construct. So this also we had to solve, and we solved it. So first, by extracting all of the entities, and so we use different techniques again here, and here that is where we started using GPUs at scale, and extracting biomedical entities, and using different techniques, we were able to arrive that over a period of time we were able to achieve that scale. What used to take us a couple of days or 4 days, later on start taking half a night, and now what it happens, it takes just barely few minutes, yeah, to do all of it at scale. Third problem was what I said about entities. Now entities itself, it could mean different things in different contexts. Like EGFR, For example, here I've mentioned that it's a gene, it's a protein. Yeah, here you see there is a protein as well, and it's a gene as well, and it's an intervention. Intervention essentially means that, yeah, it's kind of a it can be used to treat a condition as well, right? So it's a word is same, like EGFR. Yeah, EGFR, the same concept. It could mean different things in different contexts. Could be a gene, protein, intervention, or it could be name of some disease as well. How do you figure out when EGFR is appearing in a bunch of text, right? How do you know which context is being spoken about? Yeah. So again, as a human, you will probably understand, if you are the expert in biomedical terminology, you will know that here EGFR is coming as a gene, here EGFR has been mentioned as a protein. But again, how do you teach this to a machine, right? And that is where we realize we need to build an ontology. Yeah. So building an ontology and using that in discovery, and that is what so if you don't know, ontology is something which you can think of as the vocabulary and grammar. Yeah. So if you look at English language, it has a vocabulary, dictionary, and a grammar, set of rules, correct, by which you construct sentences, and this is what being spoken about. Same way, ontology, you can consider as that ontology is the vocabulary and grammar of AI, and that is what we built. And we realized this is a huge opportunity. So ultimately what we built was, at Innoplexus, what we ended up building the world's largest ontology in life sciences, and the most comprehensive ontology in life sciences. Now we built all of it, but again, the same question, how did we do it, and what was the important, like, did we come up with very different models, or how important is the model, right? Just in case, yes, this screenshot, a few of you may remember, it's from a movie called The Matrix, right? A very seminal movie. But yeah, the what I want to highlight is it's not about the model, it's about the usable data. So people get attracted to models, or people think that you choose a model and that's the end of it, you have nailed AI. You start using new models keep coming up, you choose a flashy model, the latest model, and yes, you should be able to solve that problem. Unfortunately, no. Yeah. Because if you read about it, and what if you experience it, it's not the model, it's the data. Unless you have understood your data, unless you understand the distribution of the data, unless you have defined your data, unless you have really got your data in a format that can be used, right? No model in the world can help you, none. Okay. And that is why, and in fact, if you understand your data well and the distribution is clear and everything is there, I'll say you pick up even a basic model that will do wonders. And you can, of course, keep iterating over it, and get better and better. But you can start with any model, and you can actually average out. You can try 10 models with the same data, and you get similar results. It's not in the model, but it's in the data and the distribution of the data, right? And of course, all of it has been possible only with GPUs. So I'll say, don't even attempt any of it on CPUs, because it's simply not worth. Yeah. And that's where, of course, in a way it has become expensive, but on the other way, it has become actually inexpensive, because the prices of GPUs have been coming down over a period of years, right? So what was possible earlier at a huge cost, the cost have come down drastically. Yeah. But definitely, before doing any of it, you should remember that yes, it's possible only using GPUs. Now, changing the track slightly, so this you would see 2020, right? This is what, of course, when the world was going through the pandemic at the peak, I'll say, in 2020, how did 1 minute of the day look like on internet, right? And in this, I just want to highlight, you see, of course, all of these things, but what came in, what didn't exist earlier was the entry of Zoom. Yeah. And the growth that that YouTube and Netflix showed, right? And that is what we see now. That, and again, here, people making video voice calls, so imagine, just every minute of the day, almost 1.4 million people were making video or voice calls over the internet. huge, right? So this is how the internet changed. This is how the behavior changed. This is how the world changed, and it has a profound impact. If you look at video consumption, stats, so definitely, video has become the de facto of internet. And all of these stats, of course, you can find it on Google. But if you have to sum it up, 82% of all internet traffic is video. So video is not really the future. It's already the present. We are living it. Yeah, I mean, this very example that, yes, I'm talking to you over a video conferencing, that itself is a proof. Video is the present already, right? And we see that this 82% will move beyond 90, at very soon. Yeah, and internet is going to dominated by video in all formats, and that's where things get interesting. Yeah, because if you look at so this is the evolution of smartphone. Yeah, so Steve Jobs, when he was designing the iPhone, he said that he was advised to use a stylus. Steve Jobs said that God has given us 10 styluses. He meant our fingers, right? We have 10 fingers. Why do we need a stylus, right? And I'll say equivalent of it is now, if we look at it, right, in technology, in our day-to-day life, or in AI, everything. Why do we need to read and type when we can watch, listen, speak? And that is the future of AI, which we see now. So at Innoplexus as well, whatever we did primarily with text heavy work, and then with images, computer vision. Now we see that, yeah, it's moving towards video, and we are already preparing there. And even now at here at Superpro, that's the idea. At Superpro as well, we strongly believe that video communication is the fuel. Yeah? So the next set of AI applications, the future of AI is heavily dependent on video, especially in a country like India. Because in a country like India, with which people say, right, we have so many different languages and culture and so on. Everything becomes much easier using video, because it's impossible to teach 1.3 billion people English, right? I mean, we are a select few. We are still a minority people who are able to read, speak, understand very good English. But if we see the majority of hundreds of millions of people who are now coming online, they don't know English. Yeah, they need systems, they need tools, they need AI in their own language, yeah, in their native language. And that is where we see that video is definitely going to be the dominant player. And that's where we see that the future of AI is definitely goes through video. That's all. With that, I'll close my session, and yes, open to questions.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So really, the data, the scale that you're working really kind of scares us. Kind of what you're talking on the number of pages but I have one question. Like, how are you getting the label data? As you're telling that you're scraping a lot of data and you're training models to get some insights. So, what is the source of how you are getting the label data to train it?
A very good question. Very good question. And in fact, we tried. We tried, and in fact, we still do to some extent. We have people, we have domain experts to label the data and create the training data. But the difference is, like, when we started, we thought that, okay, there's a problem with this, like we can have domain experts and they can label it, and we can continue. But the sheer scale of operations mean that even that problem could not be solved manually. We could not. So we could not hire like thousands of domain experts, and give them all of this. It's it becomes very capital intensive, very difficult to manage, so many people. And of course, it is prone to errors, because humans make errors, yeah, whether intentionally, unintentionally, the errors creep in, right? For example, in unintentionally, I may be in a rush while trying to hurry up. I end up making a spelling mistake. Now a machine will not be able to figure out really in those terms, because it's coming from a human expert by default we say that human expert is correct, right? So that's where we realize that this cannot be solved simply by that, and that's where also we brought considerable automation. So imagine the process that this labeling itself, right? We built an AI to label the data itself, like to generate this data, and of course there we use how the human experts are looking at these and they are labeling that data. We decoded that process and then built the AI to automate that process itself. So that is how we were able, and even now that I'll say, that's kind of our secret sauce now, that we are able to generate so much of training data at large scale, because it's completely proprietary, and thanks to our ontology. Our ontology itself now is able to label. We are able to leverage our ontology to label data in runtime at scale.
So like my question was more like, how are you validating? Suppose even if we are labeling the data automatically, how are you validating the data? Because as we are saying that garbage in is garbage.
Validation. So for validation, see, so how do you know to identify, like, so for validation, for testing, you have so you have a set which goes to, you have a human in loop. Yeah. Okay. One, you have a human in loop, so it is validated by humans. But second, what we now are doing at scale is the ontology, right? So you imagine that validation is also happening via ontology. Humans are not really looking at validating these records, but they are validating the ontology, the underlying system itself, right? And okay. Rest, everything on top is automated.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, sir. Nikita here. Am I audible?
Yes.
So, okay. So my question is, before building this ontology, when you started from scratch, you mentioned like a document where you have to recognize that this term is actually stands for a particular disease. So before this ontology came into picture, did you face any problem, and how did you solve it? Because it was quite hard for that to be automated. So
No, so honestly, that's what we we were not able to solve that problem at so because there is at that time as well, at that time, even now I think to a large extent, but at that time, of course, there was nothing else available other than being able to do it manually. And that's where we realized again that unless we solve it at scale, unless we get into get the ontology, we won't be able to solve it or even scale it. So I'll say at that time, before ontology, whatever we were doing, yeah, it was again using the publicly available ontologies, which were very small, using that to validate part of the data. Part of the data, what we were doing using different ontologies, we were doing that, and that is where we realized that we need to build our own. So yes, I'll say that we were not able to solve it. That is why we had to build that solution.
okay, thank you.
So presently, like what kind of like customers are like the company right now actually having like main customers, like main segments, market segments where we are actually focusing right now?
Innoplexus is completely focused on big pharma, so top 100 pharma companies of the world. So those are the customers.
Okay.
Hey, please feel free to ask any question, any other question is coming on your mind. You can always unmute yourself, or you can just put in the chat. Please feel free.
So actually, a lot of questions are there. So what is the scale of GPUs that we use considering so big data? At least if you give a perspective of it, it will be great.
So we started step by step, but ultimately, so in 2019, yeah, we got what NVIDIA calls as a supercomputer. So DGX machines, yeah. So we purchased one, then we purchased the other one. So it's like each DGX comes at a price tag of almost, with the installation and everything, it comes at a price tag of almost 2.55 CR. Yeah. So that's what NVIDIA calls as supercomputer, right? So that's what we are using, two of those, and we are in on our way to purchase more of them, right? So that's what we are using now. And in addition, so this is actually the on-prem thing, right? We are placing this in our own on-prem data center. But other than that, we have on-demand GPUs on cloud. That's completely separate. Yeah. So yes, it's very heavy GPU intensive work.
So, and one more thing regarding the recent people talking about the energy consumption by GPUs, that is also a little concern. So right now, because you are using a lot of GPUs, do we actually do something to optimize so that we consume less energy or something like that? Do we take any steps in the direction so that we are actually extracting some data as well as also focusing more about energy conservation?
Unfortunately, that's a problem which we are not looking at. But yes, at the industry level, of course, so we also talk to NVIDIA guys, and NVIDIA is working on how we can lower the power consumption. Very interesting things which are happening. So there are now GPUs and chips coming in, which where interestingly there is a thing called so they have lowered the precision. Yeah. Because you realize that you don't need that kind of precision for all operations. So if you lower the precision slightly, there is an impact on the energy consumption, right? While you won't find any visible impact in terms of the results, right? So some very interesting things are happening, how to lower the energy consumption. But yes, that's not a problem which we are working on. That's I'll say the NVIDIA and the Googles, they are working on those problems.
So is there anything open source API you're offering just to have understanding how to extract data so that we can understand how it is working? Like, is there any open source API you're providing to users or to have just to check the product or something like that?
For Innoplexus, yes, there are certain portions which we have opened up. So in fact, during COVID, now it's no more there, but when COVID hit, so in 2020 itself, Innoplexus was the only company that got a grant from German government to accelerate research on COVID. So German government had actually subsidized the our platform onto site for pharma companies there, and so we had made it available at that time to larger public, to universities as well, in addition to all the pharma companies. But yes, we have certain things which are available publicly. You can check out our website and get in touch there. We of course, we also love interacting with students, and so we give certain access to students across universities, global university. So definitely things you can try it out. Just go to our website, fill up the form, try reaching out. We'll certainly get back to you.
Thank you, sir.
Any more questions?
So we have one question on the other portal, the other channel, what we have got. So there is a candidate, Sujit. So he's asking Gaurav. So his question is kind of related to the journey that what you have explained. So he's from a mechanical background, right? So he has done his BTech in mechanical, and for the last 2 years, he's into industrial designing. So he wants to make his career in data science. So he wants to know the kind of roadmap if you can provide him, that what could be the roadmap possibly for him, that so that he can achieve that success in data science and AI.
Good. Good question. So in core sectors, we have been looking at that. What I have come across, I think in all of it, the edge that you would have is definitely on the domain side, because if you look at from really just from a tool set perspective, that you are able to use certain tools in AI, or you are able to implement certain models, that is not what will give you an edge. Yeah? The edge will be that if you are able to demonstrate that you understand your domain well, can you position yourself as a domain expert, yeah, armed with data science. That is what I'll strongly recommend. Yeah. So focus on carving out a niche that in mechanical engineering, what are those topics specifically that that you see in industry, where industry is struggling on those ends, and where AI is picking up, AI is being used or potentially can be used to solve those problems. And there you come in, position yourself as a combination of that. You understand the domain well, and in addition, yes, you are very well aware of the data science tools and processes. That's what I feel that that will be a better approach, and wherein you are not easily replaceable. Yeah? Because if you know only the tools, yeah, then you are kind of replaceable. But if you combine it with domain expertise, you are not easily replaceable.
So I believe he might have got the answer. Another question, if you can see the chat. So we have from Ishangi Jain, and she's asking, sir, in pharma company, many resources and money goes in drug and clinical trials. This is also very time taking as well. Is there a way through AI which can make this process more efficient?
Thanks, Ashangi, for asking this question, because this is what exactly we did at Innoplexus. And the end result has been that using our platform, using our AI platform, pharma companies have been able to cut down the time and effort in drug development. Yeah, how did we do that? Because in drug development, broadly, the four steps which are there, like there in the clinical trial phase, we actually just looked at it as a data problem, because truly it's a huge data problem, wherein simply being able to get all of this data in a meaningful form and being able to generate insights faster, yeah, that was able to, we are able to run these trials better. For example, how do you recruit patients for trials? It's a very big problem. Like I think last, if I remember correctly, some 65% of the clinical trials simply fail. They fail simply because they are unable to recruit enough patients, right? So using AI, we are able to just connect the right patient to the right clinical trial. That itself is going to accelerate drug development like anything. So yes, AI can be used at each step to make it a lot more efficient.
Yes.
Okay, I see the question from Cynthia Allen. I'm a geospatial engineer and will like to pursue my career in the data analyst and will need what to do. Very interesting. In fact, geospatial is one of my favorite areas as well, because now if we see the data which is it's coming, especially the satellite data and all of that has become, the cost of that has come down drastically. So we definitely see a lot happening there. I'll say that pick up the emerging areas, right? Pick up the, for example, I said already, so satellite data, right? So look at companies which are working with satellite data, because again, as I said, one part of the problem is that fine, you have satellite data and yeah, you are able to use some computer vision models or some models to figure out what they're, but that itself is not possible till you have a domain expert. Yeah, because the ontology around geospatial field itself, right, there needs to be a domain expert who figures it out, right, how it is, what it is really mean, right, then only you will be able to get any model, or figure out which model to work with, what kind of algorithm you should choose, right. So it's very interesting. I'll say look at specific areas. My recommendation will be look at satellite imaging companies, or the companies, for example, now the companies, in fact, the drone companies, the drone companies, there are many drone companies, and the data which they are generating, right, that also needs to be analyzed. So geospatial data, there is a lot of work going around. So I'll strongly recommend look at such companies and read about them, read about what kind of a work being there, and then try to look at it, what kind of a tool set, what kind of a skill set do you need to complement with your existing skill set of geospatial. I hope I answered.
Yeah, I brilliantly answered, I believe. So, Cynthia, I believe we got the answer. Another question we are getting over YouTube as well. We are live on YouTube also. So one individual, Janmajay, yes. So Janmajay is asking that what kind of hiring perspective would be there? He is a BCom graduate and joining some of the courses online in terms of acquiring these skill sets. So whether what would be the possibility in terms of getting recruited by the organization, or whether he wants to pick up any structured program lead by the institutions. So this is what his query is. Janmajay is.
Online courses are good, but I'll again strongly recommend getting to a structured program at least once, at least the first one, right? You should go through a structured program, for example, like with Aegis School, um, uh, see, in a structured program, when you look at it, you may feel like, oh, part of this I already know. This looks like I'm already aware of these things. Why do I need to go through the whole thing? Let me pick up just this one part and just get an online course and get over it. But I think that's a wrong approach, because in what I have seen, when people come to us when we are recruiting, it becomes difficult, because if you don't have the entire context, if you haven't gone through the process, right, if you haven't gone through all of the pieces together, you will have certain deficiencies somewhere, and you will get stuck, right. So I recommend going through a structured program at least once. For the first time, you should go through a structured program. After that, or it's like, I'll say, how you look at that uh, maybe I don't know if it's the correct analogy, but get a proper plan, like for your for your mobile phone. At least get a plan, yeah. And then you can have as many top-ups as possible, right? But get a plan, get a plan first, because without that you won't be able to do much, right? Then you can keep taking the top-ups, right? That is how I see. Get a structured program, and then look at specific pieces, specific courses, online certifications that you can take.
So I believe brilliantly answered, Gaurav. So I believe Janmajay might have got the answer. So anybody would have any more questions, maybe over YouTube and other channels where we are live, or maybe you can ask your questions, guys, who are logging in on this Zoom portal. Anybody would have any questions? So I believe that was very interesting session, Gaurav, that you have taken. So thank you so much. I believe individuals have already, it was a quite interactive one as well, that you have already made it interactive. So thank you so much for sparing time on this Saturday evening. Maybe any remark from your end. So maybe a takeaway for the individuals, maybe who are listening and watching you on different channels altogether. So what would be the way for the individuals, the data science enthusiasts, so they should pick up, so that the future will be very much promising for all of them?
Sure. I'll close it with saying that when you are getting into data science, or you're aspiring for this field, don't get blinded by what all is out there, right? You don't need to be a master of all. You can't be. Yeah. Try to first, get a foundation, and then on top of it, try to identify the pieces wherein you can build your skill set and you can leverage your existing skill set, right? For example, if you're coming from a finance background, from a commerce background, from engineering, mechanical engineering background, if you are able to combine and you are able to leverage that existing skill set and combine it with what you are now learning in data science, and then apply on it, trust me, that will really give you an edge over everybody else. So don't just get focused on just picking up a tool. Yeah, a tool is always only as good as the person using it, right? So picking up tools is good. It's a skill. Don't get obsessed just by tools. Yeah, focus on building your core skill set, your foundation, and then go further. So that will be 2 cents from my side.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. It was a very interacting, session, and making it very interactive as well, the way you have taken it. So we will be looking forward for certain such enriching sessions in the near future as well. So we would thank you on behalf of Aegis that you have spared time with us and enriching the individuals with your knowledge. And certainly the candidates will get the benefit out of that. So thank you so much, Gaurav, for your time, and the individuals for your patient listening. Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you all of you for taking time out, and all the best for your future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.